Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the hidden stories in financial filings. And folks, today we have a story about folks who might have tried to sneak their way into a company and what happened next. This is a report from Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc. that shows us what happened at a special meeting of their stockholders. It is kind of like a report card for how the company is dealing with a specific situation involving some people who wanted to buy a lot of the company's stock. The important date here is the 30th of January 2026. This is when the company held this special meeting. Remember, this is about a company called Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc. Their main thing traded on the stock market is their common stock, and you might see it with the ticker symbol AGI, especially on the Nasdaq exchange. So, what really went down at this meeting? The company's leaders laid out a situation for the stockholders to vote on. It seems like a group of individuals named the Knighted Group, which includes people like Knighted Pastures, LLC, Roy Choi, Naomi Choi, and Yu, Tingso, were identified. The company's board of directors believed this Knighted Group had become what they call an acquiring person under something called a rights agreement. Think of a rights agreement as a defense mechanism for a company. If someone starts buying up too much stock, this agreement can kick in to make it harder or more expensive for them to take over. And that is exactly what happened here. The board believed this group crossing a certain threshold triggered this agreement. The stockholders then had to vote on whether they agreed with this determination by the board. They also had to decide if this trigger was an accident or intentional. And here is where it gets interesting. The stockholders voted, out of the votes cast, a huge majority, over 19 million votes were for approving the board's decision. Only about 1.8 million votes were against it. There were a small number of abstentions and it looks like broken none. Votes were not applicable here, meaning the brokers did not hold shares whose owners did not provide instructions. This shows pretty strong support from the shareholders for the company's stance against this group. Now, the company also put out a press release about this meeting's results. It is like they are officially announcing to the world what happened. This press release, dated the 2nd of February 2026, is filed as an exhibit. It means they are formally sharing this information. And at the end, as with all official filings, we have the signatures. Roy Anderson, the Chief Financial Officer, signed off on this report on the 4th of February 2026. This is essentially the company saying that everything in this report is true and accurate to the best of their knowledge. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture here. What is Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc.? Actually doing this report isn't about their financial performance in this specific filing. Instead, it is all about a governance and shareholder rights issue. It tells us that the company is actively defending itself from what it perceives as an unwelcome attempt to gain control. The overwhelming vote in favor of the board's decision suggests that the current leadership has the confidence of its shareholders when it comes to these types of defensive measures. What does this mean for the company going forward? Well, it likely means that the Knighted Group's efforts to increase their stake or influence in Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc. will face significant opposition. This could lead to a period of uncertainty or even a prolonged battle for control, depending on how aggressively the Knighted Group decides to pursue their objectives. It is also important to remember the context of the gaming and entertainment industry. Companies in this sector can often be targets for acquisition or consolidation, especially if they are seen as undervalued or holding promising assets. The existence of this rights agreement and the company's action to enforce it indicate that Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc. is taking proactive steps to manage its ownership structure and strategy. In essence, this filing is not about numbers like revenue or profit, but about power and control within the company. The shareholders have spoken, and they have backed the current management's efforts to maintain their current strategic path. This indicates a company that is aware of its vulnerabilities and is taking steps to protect its independence. The question now is whether the Knighted Group will accept this outcome or decide to fight back in other ways. We will be watching to see how this plays out. Alright, that is our breakdown of Allied Gaming and Entertainment Inc.'s latest filing. What is your take on these events and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.